2 years ago, I booked an Airbnb in a small town in northern Oregon while driving cross-country alone. After nearly 3 days on the road, surviving on gas station coffee and short naps in cheap motels, I was completely exhausted. When I found an affordable guest house in a town called Black Hollow, I booked it immediately without thinking too much about it. The listing looked perfectly normal. Private entrance, quiet neighborhood, 5-star reviews, and a friendly-looking host named Daniel. His profile picture showed a skinny middle-aged man smiling beside a fishing boat. Nothing about it seemed unusual, but the moment I arrived, something about the place felt wrong. The house sat near the edge of town, surrounded by dense trees and long empty roads. There were almost no streetlights, barely any nearby homes, and the silence felt unnatural, like the entire area was holding its breath. Daniel greeted me outside around 8 p.m. He smiled constantly, even during awkward silences, and spoke in an overly calm voice that immediately made me uncomfortable. Inside, the guest house looked clean enough: small kitchen, tiny living room, 1 bedroom. But there was a strange smell lingering everywhere. It smelled like wet wood mixed with bleach. When he noticed me reacting to it, he quickly explained there had been plumbing issues downstairs. That was when I first noticed the basement door hidden behind a hallway curtain. Heavy metal lock on the outside. Daniel caught me staring at it and casually said the basement was off limits because it was only used for storage. Something about the way he said it made my stomach tighten instantly. Still, I was too tired to argue or question anything. So after he left, I locked the doors, ate a few snacks, and tried to relax. The house became unbearable once night settled in. Every sound seemed louder than it should have been. Creaking floors, rattling pipes, branches scraping lightly against the windows. Around midnight, I finally managed to fall asleep, but less than an hour later a loud bang jolted me awake. Another bang followed, then another. It took me several seconds to realize the noise was coming from the basement door. Someone was hitting it from underneath. Slow, heavy, deliberate. I sat frozen in bed while the sound echoed through the house. Eventually the banging stopped, leaving the entire place completely silent. Trying to calm myself, I grabbed my phone flashlight and slowly stepped into the hallway. That was when I heard breathing beneath the floorboards. Faint, uneven breathing coming from the basement below me. Before I could even react, my phone buzzed with a text message from Daniel. "You hear weird noises sometimes. Ignore them." I had never contacted him. I hadn't made any sound. Yet somehow he already knew. A feeling of panic settled over me as I glanced toward the living room window. Through the gap in the curtains, I saw a tall figure standing motionless near the tree line outside. I couldn't make out details in the darkness, but I could feel it staring directly at the house. After several seconds, the figure slowly stepped backward into the woods and vanished. I locked myself inside the bedroom for the rest of the night and barely slept. The next morning, daylight made everything seem less terrifying. I convinced myself exhaustion had caused me to overreact. Maybe Daniel had outdoor cameras. Maybe the noises really were pipes. So instead of leaving, I decided to stay one more night, a decision I still regret. During the day, I explored the town hoping to shake off the fear, but Black Hollow itself felt wrong. People stared too long. Conversations stopped when I walked into stores. At a small diner, a waitress asked where I was staying. The second I mentioned Daniel's name, Her expression changed completely. Quietly, she leaned closer and said, "You should leave." When I asked why, she walked away without another word. That night, I double-checked every door and window before going to bed. Around 2:30 a.m., I woke to the sound of footsteps moving through the kitchen. Not outside, inside the house. Slow footsteps crossed the floorboards before stopping directly outside my bedroom door. Then the doorknob slowly turned. I grabbed a small pocket knife from my backpack and stared at the door while trying not to breathe too loudly. After a long moment, the knob stopped moving. Then I heard whispering. 2 voices. One was definitely Daniel. The other sounded wrong. Low, wet, distorted, almost impossible to understand. Then the distorted voice whispered something that still haunts me. "He saw me last night." My body went numb. A few seconds later, the footsteps moved away down the hallway. I waited nearly 10 minutes before carefully opening the bedroom door. The hallway was empty, but the basement door was now slightly open. Only a few inches, just enough for darkness to spill through the crack. A horrible smell poured out from below. Rot, mold, bleach, something dead. Every instinct told me to run, but instead I slowly stepped closer and looked down the stairs. At first, I saw only darkness. Then something moved. A tall, thin figure stood motionless at the bottom of the staircase. Its head tilted unnaturally sideways while staring directly at me. Then it smiled. Its mouth stretched impossibly wide across its face. I slammed the basement door shut so hard the walls shook and stumbled backward in terror. At that exact moment, someone knocked on the front door upstairs. 3 slow knocks. I peeked through the living room window and saw Daniel standing outside smiling calmly. "Everything okay in there?" he asked softly. I didn't answer. His smile faded slightly. "You opened the basement, didn't you?" he said in a cold, irritated voice completely different from before. Then I heard heavy footsteps behind me. From inside the house, something was climbing the basement stairs. I ran immediately. I bolted through the back door without grabbing anything except my keys and phone and sprinted toward my car while Daniel shouted behind me. I locked myself inside the vehicle and reversed so fast I nearly crashed into a tree. As my headlights swept across the guest house, I saw someone standing in the upstairs window. Not Daniel. Something else. Tall, pale, smiling unnaturally wide while watching me drive away. I went straight to the police station in town. At first, the officers thought I was panicking over nothing, but when they searched the property the next morning, they discovered a hidden room beneath the basement floor. Chains lined the walls. Old stained mattresses covered the ground. Personal belongings belonging to multiple missing travelers were scattered throughout the room, some dating back nearly 8 years. But they never found Daniel, or the thing I saw in the basement. Both disappeared before police arrived. Investigators later connected Daniel to several disappearances across multiple states involving travelers staying alone overnight. The Airbnb listing vanished almost immediately after the investigation began, and the guest house officially became abandoned. Last year, curiosity got the better of me and I searched the property online again. Someone hiking nearby had accidentally captured the house in the background of a photo they uploaded. Standing in the upstairs window was a tall figure with its head tilted sideways, watching the photographer, smiling. guy across the hall from me was named Eric. At least I think that was his real name. We weren't close friends or anything, but after living in the same apartment building for over a year, we naturally recognized each other. We'd exchange quick nods near the mailboxes or awkward greetings in the hallway. Eric lived in apartment 304 directly across from mine. He looked like he was in his mid-30s, quiet and polite, the kind of neighbor you barely notice most days. But there was always something unsettling about him that I couldn't explain. He never looked relaxed, ever. Every time I saw him, he seemed exhausted, distracted, constantly glancing over his shoulder like he expected someone to appear behind him. Late at night, I'd often hear him pacing around his apartment for hours without stopping. I assumed he had insomnia or anxiety, but over time his behavior started feeling less normal and more like genuine fear. One Thursday evening, I came home from work and found Eric standing outside my apartment waiting for me. That alone immediately felt strange. He looked worse than usual. Pale, sweating, hands shaking slightly. Quietly, he asked if he could request something weird. I joked about how weird we were talking, but he didn't smile. Instead, he handed me a spare key to his apartment and asked me to watch the place over the weekend while he left town. He kept glancing nervously down the hallway during the conversation like he was afraid someone might overhear us. When I suggested asking the landlord instead, Eric immediately shook his head. No, not him. The way he said it made my stomach tighten. Before leaving, he added one final warning that stayed stuck in my head all night. If you hear noises inside, don't go in. I should have refused right there, but instead I agreed because he genuinely looked terrified. The following night, around midnight, I was sitting on my couch watching television when I heard a loud thump from across the hallway. I muted the TV immediately. Another heavy thump echoed through the walls, followed by dragging sounds moving slowly across Eric's apartment floor. My chest tightened instantly because Eric was supposed to be out of town. I stepped quietly into the hallway and listened outside apartment 304. Something was definitely moving around inside. Slow footsteps crossed the apartment before suddenly stopping. I almost knocked on the door, but then I remembered Eric's warning. If you hear noises inside, don't go in. Uneasy, I returned to my apartment and locked the door. About 20 minutes later, I heard whispering in the hallway. Not one voice, multiple voices. I checked through the peephole expecting to see neighbors, but the hallway was completely empty. The whispering continued softly, impossible to fully understand. That was when I noticed Eric's apartment door had opened slightly on its own. The whispering stopped instantly. Then something moved near the crack in the doorway. I stepped away from the peephole in panic, but after several seconds curiosity got the better of me and I looked again. Slowly, Eric's apartment door creaked fully open. The dark hallway inside became visible. First, it looked empty. Then a face slowly leaned around the corner from inside the apartment. A bald man stared directly toward my apartment door without blinking. He was pale, impossibly thin, and completely expressionless. I backed away so fast I nearly tripped over myself. A few moments later, I heard the apartment door softly close again. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, I called Eric repeatedly, but every call went straight to voicemail. I texted him describing the man I saw inside his apartment, but he never responded. Around noon, someone knocked on my door. When I looked through the peephole, The bald man stood there smiling faintly. Seeing him clearly in daylight somehow made him even worse. His skin looked gray and unhealthy, with dark veins visible beneath his neck. He knocked again softly before speaking through the door in a flat, emotionless voice. "Eric forgot something." I didn't answer. I stood frozen in silence while he remained outside my apartment for nearly 5 full minutes before eventually walking away. That evening, I decided I was done dealing with any of it. I grabbed the spare key Eric had given me and walked across the hallway, intending to leave it inside his apartment and forget everything. The second I opened the door, a horrible smell hit me. Rotting food mixed with something metallic underneath. The apartment itself looked completely wrong. Dozens of heavy locks covered the inside of the front door. The walls were filled with handwritten notes scrawled over and over in messy panic. "Don't open the door. He pretends. Don't listen to him." Some notes were repeated dozens of times like Eric had written them during breakdowns. The deeper I walked into the apartment, the worse it became. Furniture was overturned. Empty food cans littered the floor. Curtains had been nailed shut over every window. The only light came from a flickering television in the living room. Sitting motionless on the couch facing the screen was the bald man. Slowly, he turned his head toward me and smiled. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered softly. I immediately backed away, and that was when I noticed something horrifying behind the couch. Partially hidden beneath blankets and trash bags was another person bound tightly with duct tape. Eric. His eyes widened in panic the second he saw me. The bald man slowly stood up, and that was when my brain genuinely stopped functioning for a moment. He looked exactly like Eric. Not similar. Identical. Same height. Same face. Same voice. Just thinner somehow, pale and unnatural like a sick copy of him. The thing tilted its head slightly while staring at me, then spoke in Eric's exact voice. He let me in. I ran immediately. I barely made it into the hallway before hearing footsteps sprinting after me. I slammed my apartment door shut, locked every lock, and called 911 with shaking hands while trying to explain what I had just seen. Police arrived within minutes and searched Eric's apartment thoroughly. But when they came back out, they only found one person inside. Eric himself. Alone. Bound with duct tape exactly where I had seen him behind the couch. The other man had vanished completely. No fingerprints. No forced entry. Nothing. The police assumed some intruder had kidnapped Eric and escaped before they arrived. But Eric refused to explain anything afterward. Before paramedics took him away, he suddenly grabbed my arm tightly. His entire body was shaking. Quietly, he whispered something that still keeps me awake some nights. "I told you not to open the door." 2 days later, Eric disappeared from the hospital. No security footage showed him leaving. No witnesses saw him go. It was like he simply stopped existing. Weeks passed, and eventually a new tenant moved into apartment 304. He looked to be in his 30s, quiet and polite, always glancing nervously over his shoulder while unlocking his apartment door. The first time we officially met in the hallway, my blood went cold. He gave me an awkward smile and held out his hand. "Hey," he said softly, "I'm Eric." About a year ago, I started receiving anonymous emails in the middle of the night. At first, they seemed harmless enough, No subject lines, no messages, just strange video attachments with random combinations of letters and numbers as file names. The first email arrived around 1:08 a.m. while I was gaming alone in my apartment. I almost ignored it because it looked exactly like spam, but for some reason I opened it anyway. The attached video was only 11 seconds long. It showed a dark bedroom recorded from a high corner near the ceiling. At first, I didn't recognize the room. Then the person sleeping in the bed rolled over slightly, and my stomach instantly dropped. It was me. The video showed my actual bedroom, my bed, my nightstand, even the crack running above my closet door. I checked the file details immediately and saw the footage had been recorded 3 nights earlier around 2:14 a.m. I remember replaying the clip over and over trying to understand how someone could have filmed me sleeping inside my own apartment. That night, I searched the entire apartment in panic. I checked under the bed, inside closets, cabinets, vents, everywhere I could think of. I found nothing. By morning, I tried convincing myself there had to be a logical explanation. Maybe someone hacked into an old security camera account, or maybe it was an elaborate prank. Still, the feeling of being watched wouldn't leave me alone. After work, I bought a cheap indoor camera and aimed it directly at my bedroom door before going to sleep. The second email arrived the very next night. This video lasted almost 2 minutes. Again, it showed me asleep in bed. But halfway through the footage, my bedroom door slowly opened and a tall figure dressed in dark clothes stepped silently into the room. My heart nearly stopped while watching it. The figure stood beside my bed for nearly 30 seconds without moving, just staring down at me while I slept. Then it slowly leaned close to my face before the video abruptly ended. I immediately checked the footage from the security camera I had installed the night before. Nothing appeared. No one entered the room. No movement. No sound. According to my own camera, I slept completely alone all night. But the anonymous video clearly showed someone standing inches away from me. That was when I called the police for the first time. An officer came by later that afternoon and searched the apartment, though it was obvious he thought I was overreacting. He casually asked if I had enemies or an angry ex-girlfriend before eventually examining the videos himself. After a few minutes, he handed my laptop back and suggested they could easily be edited. His explanation did nothing to calm me down. Over the next week, more emails kept arriving between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. Every video showed me sleeping. Sometimes the dark figure appeared in the room. Sometimes it didn't. But each video became more disturbing than the last. One showed the figure standing silently in my doorway for over 3 hours. Another showed it opening my bedroom closet and climbing inside while I slept. The footage ended before it came back out. By then, I had completely stopped sleeping normally. Every sound inside the apartment made me panic. I left lights on constantly, checked locks repeatedly, and woke up several times a night convinced someone was standing beside my bed. Then I realized something even worse. The videos were being recorded from different angles each time. One near the ceiling, another from inside the closet, another from the hallway. That meant there wasn't just one hidden camera inside my apartment. There were multiple. I tore the entire place apart searching for them until I finally found a tiny lens hidden inside the smoke detector above my bedroom door. My stomach dropped instantly. Police returned to investigate, and this time they took the situation seriously. Crime scene investigators searched the apartment and eventually discovered 4 separate hidden cameras professionally installed throughout the unit. Worse still, they determined the devices had likely been there long before I even moved in. Someone had been secretly recording people inside that apartment for months, maybe years. I moved out immediately and spent several nights in a hotel while searching for a new apartment. For the first time in weeks, I finally felt slightly safe again. Then another email arrived. Attached was a new video recorded inside the hotel room itself only hours earlier. Watching it made me physically sick. The footage showed me asleep in the hotel bed while a dark figure stood directly beside me holding something shiny in one hand. A knife. Slowly, the figure raised the blade toward my throat before the video abruptly cut off. I packed my belongings and fled the hotel within minutes. At that point, I genuinely believed someone intended to kill me. Investigators traced the emails through VPNs and fake servers, but every lead went nowhere. There were no fingerprints on the hidden cameras either. Whoever was doing this knew exactly how to avoid detection. Then things escalated even further. One afternoon, I returned to my new apartment and discovered my bedroom window slightly open even though I knew I had locked it before leaving. Sitting in the center of my pillow was a small flash drive. There was no note attached, no explanation, just the drive. Against my better judgment, I plugged it into my laptop. The drive contained hundreds of video files, not just of me, but of dozens of different people. Men, women, couples, entire families. Every video showed people sleeping inside their homes while the same dark figure silently watched them from corners of bedrooms. Some recordings lasted entire nights. Others ended violently. One video showed the figure climbing onto a bed beside a sleeping man before muffled screaming suddenly filled the audio and the screen cut to black. I slammed my laptop shut because I genuinely thought I was going to throw up. Then I noticed one final folder sitting at the bottom of the drive labeled simply, "Next." My hands were shaking uncontrollably when I opened it. The video began with footage of me asleep inside my current apartment. Then the dark figure slowly stepped into frame. But this time, instead of hiding its face, it looked directly into the camera. I recognized him immediately. It was the same police officer who had responded to my first report weeks earlier. The same officer who had searched my apartment and dismissed the videos as fake. In the footage, he stared directly into the camera and smiled before whispering softly, "You sleep too deeply." I called 911 immediately, but by the time officers arrived, the flash drive had vanished completely. Gone without explanation. I know how insane that sounds, but I searched everywhere and never found it again. The officer I accused denied everything, obviously, and the department briefly investigated before eventually dismissing the entire situation due to lack of evidence. After that, they stopped taking my calls seriously altogether. I moved again after that, different city, different state, different apartment. For a while, the emails finally stopped. Slowly, I started convincing myself maybe it was over and whoever had been stalking me had finally moved on. Then last month, I woke up around 3 a.m. because my phone vibrated beside the bed. I already knew what it was before I even looked. One new email. No subject line. One attached video. My hands shook while opening it. The footage showed me asleep in my current apartment only hours earlier. But this time something was different. In the far corner of the room, partially hidden by darkness, another person stood beside my bed already watching me sleep. And behind the camera, I heard the officer whisper quietly in a calm, almost amused voice, "He finally found you too."